The physiology of the nervous system involves the control, processing of information, and communication between different parts of the body. The nervous system is responsible for coordinating many body functions, from body movements to responses to stimuli from the environment. The nervous system is divided into two main parts: the central nervous system, CNS, and the peripheral nervous system, PNS. Here is a detailed explanation of the physiology of the nervous system. 1. Structure and function of the nervous system. The nervous system consists of a very complex network of nerve cells called neurons and supporting cells called glia. A. Central nervous system, CNS, including 1. Brain, which is the body's control center in place of information processing. The brain consists of various parts that have specific functions, such as a cerebrum, which regulates high cognitive functions such as thinking, learning, speaking, feelings, and conscious movement. B. Cerebellum, which controls balance, coordination, and fine movements. C. Brainstem, which controls basic life functions such as breathing, heart rate, and sleep. E. Diencephalon, includes the thalamus and hypothalamus, which regulate body temperature control, hunger, thirst, and hormone regulation. F. Spinal cord, is the main pathway between the brain and the body. Receives sensory information from the body and sends motor information to the muscles. B. Peripheral nervous system, CNS, consists of 1. Sensory nerves, which transmit information from sensory organs, such as skin, eyes, ears, to the central nervous system. 2. Motor nerves, which transmit signals from the central nervous system to muscles and glands to produce motor responses. 3. Autonomic nerves, which control unconscious body functions, such as heart rate, breathing, digestion, and blood pressure regulation. These nerves are divided into two systems. 4. Sympathetic nervous system, which prepares the body for a fight or flight response in stressful situations. 5. Parasympathetic nervous system, which regulates the body's state of rest and recovery, rest and digest. 2. Neurons, structure and function. Neurons are the basic functional units of the nervous system that transmit electrical signals. Each neuron consists of several main parts, namely, A. Dendrites. Receive signals from other neurons or sensory receptors. B. Soma, neuron cell body, contains the cell nucleus and is the center of information processing. C. Axon, allows neurons to send electrical signals, action potentials, to other neurons or to muscles and glands. D. Synapse, the connection point between neurons where information is transmitted through chemicals called neurotransmitters. E. Myelin, a fatty sheath that coats axons, speeding up the transmission of nerve impulses. 3. Transmission of nerve impulses. The transmission of nerve impulses through neurons involves two main processes: resting potential and action potential. A. Resting potential. A neuron in an unstimulated state has a difference in charge inside and outside the cell. Inside the neuron, the charge is negative, while outside the cell is more positive. This creates a resting potential of about -70 millivolts. This process is maintained by the sodium-potassium pump, which pumps sodium out of the cell and potassium into the cell. B. Action potential. A neuron is stimulated, a change in charge occurs along its axon. Action potential is an electrical impulse that flows through the axon of a neuron. The process is as follows. 1. Depolarization. When a neuron is stimulated, sodium channels open, allowing sodium ions to enter the cell, causing a change in charge from negative to positive. 2. Repolarization. After depolarization, potassium channels open and potassium ions leave the cell, returning the cell charge to a negative state. 3. Refractory, i.e. after the action potential, the neuron cannot respond to other stimuli for some time, called the refractory period. This process flows along the axon and reaches the end of the axon, where the impulse is transmitted to another neuron or to a muscle through the synapse. 4. Synapse and neurotransmitters. A synapse is a connection point between neurons or between a neuron and a target cell, e.g. muscle. At the synapse, information is transmitted through chemicals called neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are chemical molecules produced by neurons and released into the synapse space to send signals to other neurons or to target cells. Examples of neurotransmitters include acetylcholine, ACH, involved in sending signals between motor neurons and muscles. Dopamine, involved in controlling movement, motivation, and happiness. Serotonin, regulates mood, sleep, and appetite. Norepinephrine, involved in stress responses and blood pressure regulation. Neurotransmitters bind to receptors on the receiving neuron, which then triggers a further response, such as depolarization or inhibition in the next neuron. 5. Reflexes and information processing. A reflex is a rapid response to a stimulus that involves the nervous system without processing involving the brain. Reflexes occur through reflex pathways, which consist of sensory neurons, association neurons, interneurons, in the spinal cord, and motor neurons. Examples of reflexes: patellar reflex, knee reflex, when the tendon below the knee is hit. Sensory signals are received and processed in the spinal cord, which immediately sends motor signals to the quadriceps muscles to cause movement without involving the brain directly. Meanwhile, More complex information processing, such as thinking and decision-making, occurs in the cerebral cortex, which is the part of the brain that controls cognitive functions. 6. Regulation and function of the nervous system. The nervous system functions to control and coordinate various body activities, including a regulation of autonomic functions. The autonomic nervous system regulates unconscious body functions, such as heart rate, breathing, digestion, and body temperature regulation. The autonomic nervous system is divided into two parts. 1. Sympathetic nervous system prepares the body for fight or flight in the face of stress by increasing the heart rate, widening the bronchi, and increasing blood flow to the muscles. 2. Parasympathetic nervous system regulates body functions in resting conditions, such as slowing the heart rate, stimulating digestion, and regulating the recovery process. B. Movement regulation. The motor nervous system controls body movement by sending signals to the muscles. Movement can be a conscious movement involving the motor cortex or a faster reflex movement without conscious processing. C. Sensory processing. The nervous system also functions to receive and process sensory information, such as sight, hearing, taste, and touch, which allows the body to respond adaptively to the environment. 7. Disorders of the nervous system. Several disorders of the nervous system can significantly affect body function, including a stroke, namely damage to the brain due to impaired blood supply, which can affect motor, cognition, and other body functions. B. Alzheimer's disease, a degenerative disorder that affects memory and cognition. C. Parkinson's disease, a disorder of the nervous system that affects the control of body movements. D. Multiple sclerosis, an autoimmune disease that damages myelin and affects the transmission of nerve impulses. E. Peripheral neuropathy, nerve damage that can cause numbness, pain, and weakness. 8. Conclusion. The nervous system is a very important system for communication and body control. By using neurons to transmit electrical signals and neurotransmitters to convey information between neurons, the nervous system coordinates the body's motor, sensory, and autonomic regulatory functions. Proper functioning of the nervous system is essential for the body's overall well-being.